Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing really good. So what I have today is this watercolor fish that I'm doing. I'm going to be using a product called Magic Cover. It's a self-adhesive clear cover right there, and I got it at a hobby store. And I'm going to be using that instead of masking fluid for the fish. And I've never tried this before, and I wanted to see how it worked. So the colors I'm using, they're all by Winsor & Newton. The first one is Smalt Dumonts Blue. The next one right there is Permanent Magenta. And then we have Aqua Green. The next one is Aureolin Yellow. It kind of looks green there just because it was mixed in with some blue in my water. Then we have a Cad-Free Red, and a Cad-Free Orange, and a neutral tint. And then I'm also going to be using bleed proof white and a black gel pen, a fine tip pen. So here's the Magic Cover, and I turned it upside down, and I have, well, the backing paper is on the back, and I'm actually drawing on the front of the cover there. And I'm drawing my fish. And I'm just using a Sharpie because I figured if I use a Sharpie, it shouldn't run or bleed when I add the water to my my painting. And I have to say, for the background, this painting, I was not recording, so I am so sorry. I'm so embarrassed, but I still wanted to add this video to YouTube, so hopefully you guys will still like it. So I cut out my fish after I had drawn it, and there it is. And there's my piece of paper. I'm using a 6x9 piece of cold press watercolor paper, Arches. And I did do a little test strip before doing this just to make sure it would work and not the water wouldn't bleed underneath, or the watercolor wouldn't bleed underneath it. It wouldn't lift up, it wouldn't rip off my paper, and it worked wonderfully. So sorry, here it is. I did my background without recording it, so I can kind of tell you what I did. It was after I put my little Magic Cover on their fish, I wet it down pretty good. It is a wet on wet background. I added some aqua green mixed with the Dumont blue, and then some of the Aureolin in there is the greenish yellow, and then I added some Cad-Free Red and Cad-Free Orange, as you can see kind of on the top part of the fish there. I added that, and then below the fish I added more of a darker, the aqua green with more of the neutral tint, and kind of just made a soft background. And then I'm blotting at it. I added some water right there, some sprinkles. On the bottom, as you can see, I did add some salt. And then I took my brush and kind of with a damp brush, kind of lightened some areas. So there it is, all nice and dry. And I came in just to add a little bit more of color to certain areas. I'm adding a little bit more of the red and the orange just to brighten it up a bit. Next, I took my permanent magenta, and what I'm doing is as you see on the bottom, I took a pretty good amount mixed with water, kind of a watery consistency, put it there on the bottom of my paper, and blew into a straw to make those interesting shapes, kind of to make it look kind of, I don't know, like kelp or something under the sea, just to give it some interest. Of course, you wouldn't have to do that if you want to keep, I think the background would have looked good just by itself without doing this, but I thought, what the heck, I want to do something with a straw. So that's what I decided to do. So that is permanent magenta that I did that with. Kind of created some interesting little bit of dimension too to the background and interesting shapes, and I really love the permanent magenta color. So then I'm just darkening the bottom there of the painting with some more of that permanent magenta mixed with the Dumont blue, Smalt Dumont's blue. So there I'm just dabbing off the paint, and I am going to take that off, and look at how easily it comes off. It was amazing, and I love it. I was so happy. Look at how white and clean the edges came out. I was like, wow, it's great for large surfaces. For fine detail, I don't think it would work very well, but if you have a larger surface that you want to white out instead of using masking tape or masking fluid, I would really recommend this. So next, the fish is going to be starting with wet on wet, and I wet the fish as you can see, but I kept the fins and the tail dry, and I'm dropping in my Dumont blue, just a light mixture of it, and this color is so pretty. I bought it a couple years ago and I just never really used it. And then I just started using it recently and I thought, why haven't I been using this color? It's kind of like a lavender color when you make a light wash of it. It's just beautiful. And then I'm adding I'm dropping in some aqua green there, and then a little darker mixture of the Dumont's blue. And this is still all wet on wet. And then I'm dropping in the Aureolin. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Yellow. I'll just call it yellow from now on. How about that? But it looks kind of greenish. It does have a green hue to it to me, yellow-green color. And I'm just kind of dropping those colors in there. Then I did drop a little cad red in there, kind of below the eye where the eye is going to be. Just to give it a little bit of more of a darker color. So then with the fins and the tail, I wanted it to kind of be a little bit of a translucent look. So as you see, I wet the bottom fin there, and I'm just kind of dropping in a darker colors, kind of trying to match it to the what would be behind it. As you'll see, I kind of let it dry, and then I went back. You'll see this one, of course, is I didn't let it dry yet, but I'm talking about the bottom one. I work all three, the two fins and the tail. I let it dry, then I come back. But so I'm just trying to kind of imagine the colors behind the tail, what they would be, because I am going to try to give the fins and the tail an illusion of being able to see through it, translucent. So I did take my dagger brush there, and I'm working also with a number 4 brush and just working the paint there. See, I did let it dry a little bit, then I added some of that that magenta to make it so it looks like you could see the kelp or behind the tail. And then the bottom fin. Then the upper fin, I kind of added that cad red and cad orange to kind of make it look like you can see the coral through that upper fin. So that's what I'm just doing to the tail and the two fins. There's my dagger brush. I let it dry, and then I'm coming back with my dagger brush, and I'm using the mixture of that Dumont's blue to add the ridges there to the fins and the tail. So as that was drying, I wanted to start working on the eye. Next, I am coming in with another layer. I wet the fish there on the top, And I'm adding some more layer. I'm trying to add some dimension there. I have the Dumonts blue that I'm working with. Just adding some water and a little bit of the Dumonts blue. Trying to keep it soft looking. I don't want any harsh lines. Try to keep everything kind of just smooth and blended together. And there I'm adding some of that Aureolin to the eye mixed with the little bit of the aqua green into the top there, around the eye into the top there. So I'm just going around with water and thin layers of color. So I let it dry, and then next is for the spots. It is a spotted fish, so I wanted the spots to be dark contrast, some of them to be dark contrast with the color of the fish. So I'm using a pretty thick mixture of the neutral tint and just my number 4 brush, and just kind of making spots. They're not perfectly round spots. I probably could have used like a template or something to make perfectly round spots, but I thought, no, I'm just going to go for it without a template. So I made some spots, as you can see, around the nose, up the top there. Then I'm coming back with a little bit of a lighter wash of the neutral tint, because I didn't want all the spots to be one color. It probably make it look more flat. So I did come back and do some smaller spots with a lighter wash of the neutral tint, as you can see. Now I am kind of just taking a wet, damp brush and smoothing some of the color around those spots. Have to be really careful with not touching the spots. Then I'm adding some paint too, to just give it a little bit more of a shading dimension around those spots, and just being careful not to touch it, because then they'll bleed and it would not look good. So I'm adding some of the more Dumonts blue. As you can see, I added a little bit of the mixture, the Dumonts blue and permanent magenta makes a beautiful light purple color. So I'm kind of adding that to certain areas. I add in a little bit more of the yellow and just blending some areas with my brush. And I added some more yellow to the eye also. So now I took a my fine liner or rigger, and I dipped it in the the neutral tint, kind of lining the fish, certain areas around the top there. And now I'm working on the eye, kind of darkening the upper part of the eye there, because there is a shadow up on the upper part of the eye there. So stuff is starting to dry. Now I'm using the bleed proof white, and I am lining the eye with the bleed proof white. So all the white that you'll see me using in this fish is bleed proof white with a little bit of water added to it. You could use a gel pen if you want, or acrylic pen, but I decided just to use my brush. It's going around the eye, and then that little ridge there on the fish, because it is a box fish and they're kind of boxy shaped, so there is a ridge there on that fish, and I used white to accentuate that, highlight that. And now I am using the bleed proof white to go back and work on the fins and the tail, and the ridges of the fins and the tail. I'm just taking my liner brush there and just creating some lines, you'll see, on the all the fins and the tails. I'll be doing that and add in some water. And I'm also using it as a highlighter there, as you see on the top. Bleed-proof white works good. You just add a little water to it and you can use it kind of like paint, but it is permanent. It's not like gouache. Once it dries, you can't reactivate it with water or anything, but it does create a nice white, crisp white. There, and coming, doing the bottom fin with the bleed-proof white. And then down there, creating some contour along the bottom, going around the spots. Then I thought I better work on the mouth, so I add a little bit of white to the fishy lips. I highlight the lips, kind of go around, line the fish a little bit with the white, just to make it stand out. There you see a closer up look of me, kind of just adding a little bit of the white mixture to certain areas. Going back and using the white on the fins. Just keep on layering the white. Okay, so it was dry. So now I'm using this fine tipped pen, gel pen that works really well. It's kind of super fine tip. I'll go ahead and put what brand of pen that is in my description. I'll also be putting, of course, the colors in there too. But this pen works really nice. It seems to be smooth on watercolor paper, which to me, sometimes it's hard to find pens that don't, or that pens that do write smoothly on watercolor paper. This one seems to work really well, and it's such a fine tip. I really like it. So I'm just kind of, lining around the fish, trying to make that pop out more, and kind of fixing some of my circles on there, some of the spots, kind of fixing those with the black pen. Okay, then I have to add the little white dot to the fishy eye. And I'm adding a little bit more detail to the eye. I used a little bit of bleed-proof white. And then I let that dry and then came back with a little bit of a yellow-green. And there it is. It's all done. So time to take off the tape. And I want to thank everybody so much for watching. I think it turned out pretty. Thanks for giving me your time. And please like and subscribe if you haven't. It really helps my channel out. And I will be coming out with another painting very soon. So everybody take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.